Millions of people we see on the streets today are carrying flags and sending a message to the enemy that we stand firm in defending the territorial integrity of our country. I would really love to be able to go there and kiss their hands and thank each one of those people, everyone who proudly raised the flag of Iran. One day I said with all sincerity that I am willing to sacrifice my life for that little Iranian baby who is just 1 day old. I know that many of you feel the same way. Today I say to our dear people that we stand ready for your health, your safety, your peace of mind, and your pride. For the flag you raised, not only our generation, but future generations will sacrifice themselves, but may your flag never fall. May it always remain proud and upright. Today it is absolutely clear that our main goal is to remove the shadow of war from our country, ensuring security for all citizens. It is not acceptable for some to be safe while our people and our country are not.
A threat has just come from Tehran, one that sounds tough in words, but very much resembles a script the world has already seen end in defeat. Major General Amir Hatami, commander of the Iranian army, stated that if the enemy launches a ground operation, no soldier should come out alive. What this warning shows in practice is a regime trying to project strength, precisely when fears are growing that the United States will escalate the war and take the pressure to another level. The one making this threat is the Iranian military leadership, and the timing is no coincidence. In recent days, Reuters revealed that thousands of American troops have begun arriving in the Middle East, including soldiers from the 82nd Airborne Division and about 2,500 Marines. It was also reported that within the Trump administration, there was discussion about options for using forces on Iranian territory, including to protect oil routes and put pressure on strategic areas. This helps explain why Hatami made his statement. It doesn't come from a sense of security, but from fear that the next phase of the war will be even harsher for Tehran. That's where the parallel with Iraq comes in. The Iranian threat tries to project an image of absolute courage, but it recalls the kind of bravado that Baghdad also used before being crushed in 2003. Tariq Aziz, one of the most important voices of Saddam Hussein's regime, said that an invasion would not be a picnic and that it would be a long and bloody war. On the first day of the invasion, Saddam attacked Bush in his speech. But in practice, the US offensive crushed the Iraqi military apparatus in a matter of weeks. Reuters recalls that the invasion began on March 20, 2003, crushed the Iraqi forces, and quickly removed Saddam from power. On April 9, Baghdad had already fallen into the hands of the troops. So, what is Iran doing now? It's repeating the old formula of cornered regimes, raising the tone, promising total destruction, and trying to convince enemies and allies that a ground invasion would be too costly. This is done with military propaganda, aggressive rhetoric, and public messages to show a readiness for maximum resistance. But this kind of language can also reveal weakness when a military command needs to say that no one will get out alive. He is trying to compensate with rhetoric for what he can no longer guarantee on the strategic front, and today the strategic situation is getting worse. For Tehran, Donald Trump made this even clearer in a televised speech, stating that the United States is close to achieving its main objectives. He said he will hit Iran extremely hard in the next 2 or 3 weeks and threatened to take the regime back to the Stone Age. Reuters also reported that Washington believes Iran no longer poses the same threat it did at the beginning of this campaign, although the war is still ongoing and dangerous. In other words, while Tehran talks about annihilating any possible ground force, the White House speaks as if it believes it has already broken the enemy's back. Where could this conflict erupt more intensely? Reuters revealed that, among the possibilities, missions related to Karg Island, a vital center for the export of Iranian oil, and actions to ensure the passage of ships. This means that Hatami's threat is not abstract. It responds to a concrete possibility that the United States will go beyond airstrikes and use a limited ground presence to suffocate the regime. Where does it hurt the most? Why does this comparison with Iraq weigh so heavily? Because Baghdad also relied on intimidation. Baghdad also promised fierce resistance and also tried to sell the idea that the Americans would pay an unbearable price. But the initial outcome was the opposite. The Iraqi state was broken, Saddam fell, and the capital was taken in less than 3 weeks. Reuters itself also reports that when the invasion was already certain, Saddam asked his generals if they could hold off the invaders for 2 weeks. This shows that behind the public rhetoric there was an awareness of vulnerability. In the Iranian case, the feeling now is similar. The rhetoric is one of strength, but the tone reveals apprehension. Iran has just repeated the language of defiance that Iraq used before being overrun by the United States. Tehran is trying to turn threat into deterrence, trying to instill fear in its adversary, trying to appear ready for a total confrontation. But history shows that this kind of bravado, when it appears too late and under increasing military pressure, can sound more like a symptom of weakness than a show of strength. Iraq talked tough and was crushed. Now, Iran is talking about exterminating any enemy ground force. Just as the United States sends more troops, ratchets up the rhetoric, and acts as if it sees a regime already wounded.